On this episode of Where's the Line, me and Joseph are going to recap Tennessee's win at Kentucky and Vanderbilt's loss at Ole Miss. We're also going to touch on the Michigan sign-stealing scandal, and we'll have our gambling picks at the end. A little bit shorter episode. Hope you guys enjoy. It's episode number 104. Let's get into it.
You are now listening to the Where's the Line podcast with Joseph West and Britt Dillard. Enjoy the show.
Milton gonna take a shot wide open and just strutting in is Keaton. Joe Milton does it again.
Borgie again on a blitz. Levis pocket collapses. He's on the run. He just heaves it up. And it's intercepted by Vanderbilt. And let the celebration begin. The streak is over at 26. The Commodores win it.
Talk about Vanderbilt football. All I gotta say, and you're going to hell. Bye.
Another edition of Where's the Line. It is Wednesday, November 1st. This is episode number 104. My name is Britt Dillard. I am here. I am alive, coming through live from Gornsville.
Okay.
I'm joined here by my good friend Joseph West. How are you today, man?
I'm good. We are up right now. Big time betting weekend for your boy. I cleared $700 this weekend. You love to see that. The Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. Honestly, if the Commodores would have won, I would have been too high. It's probably good they lost. So we up. We doing good. Britt, how are you on this very chilly fall evening?
I'm good. I'm alive. Yeah.
And I think
joy is a choice.
Go ahead. Joy is a choice, for sure.
That's just all it comes down to. Joy is a choice. That's a nice jacket you got on there.
Thank you, sir.
But no, I'm very blessed and happy to be here. I'm excited to record week 9 of college football. It's in the books.
Stop doing that. That's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to get grounded. You're grounded. Listen,
Week 9.
think right off the bat, I'm going to tell Britt to shut up and eat that piece of bread he's eating because he's straight. Okay?
You know what this is?
This is what we're going to get right off the bat. What is it?
It's a crow sandwich.
You eating that right now? Are you eating that?
It's a crow sandwich.
That's what I was about to get into. Oh,
it's a crow sandwich. And there's several men that I owe an apology.
Ain't no way. Okay, I'm ready. I'm listening.
For the past 3 weeks, I've come on here, and it's been embarrassing. I have absolutely destroyed Joe Milton. Last week, I called out Dante Thornton. And these two men show up in coal mine country and just go off. These two men just have theirself a game. So I just want to make a statement right here. I'm riding with Joe. I'm a Joe Milton respecter.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm back with Joe. Let's ride. Let's ride, Daddy. Let's ride, Daddy Joe.
The Joe Milton respecter, Mr. Britt Dillard himself, is back. Tennessee beat Kentucky by a score of 33-27 this weekend. In Kentucky, in big Lexington, football country is what Ray Davis calls it, apparently. Anyways, not the point. Point is, listen, we watched two quarterbacks absolutely ball out on Saturday. I mean, this was genuinely a good game to watch. Like, I think if you watched this game, you probably really enjoyed it. Joe Milton was 18 of 21 with 228 yards and a touchdown. made a ton of great throws that we'll get into. Devin Leary, 28 of 39, 372 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just absolutely two just clinics by the quarterbacks. 2 great games. Britt, early thoughts. How are you feeling after this game? We worked together, but tell everybody else, how are you feeling?
Definitely a big win for Tennessee. And I didn't say this last week, but it felt a lot like a must win. It was leaning towards a must win, especially for the fan base who was kind of at odds about the quarterback situation. But at this point, if you're arguing against Joe Milton, you just don't like him. Just there's a personal thing that you just don't like Joe Milton. But this game, Tennessee figured a lot of stuff out. Ray Davis. They were not going to let Kentucky run the ball on them, and they stuck with it. They were going to live or die by stopping Ray Davis, and they just happened to stop him and just happened to live. So I was impressed by the offense. Defensively, still a lot of questions, but like I said, they just stuck with the game plan. They came in and said, "Hey, we're going to do this," and they stuck with it. So part of me respects that. If it would have went a different way, you're stupid and stubborn, but it didn't work out that way. So we're not going to say that. But big win for Josh and the boys.
Yeah, I agree. I have a few guys written down here who I want to give some nods to. First of all, Joe Milton. Listen, I've stayed pretty consistent on Joe Milton. Joe Milton is the same guy I thought he was preseason. He's the same guy he was 2 weeks ago, and he's the same guy after this Kentucky game. He's got a super high ceiling. He also has a low floor. You never know what you're gonna get, but the dude has talent. I mean, I think that's undebatable. So Joe Milton, first and foremost, give him the nod. Jalen Wright had himself a day as well. 11 carries, 120 yards. I'm sorry, 10.9 yards per carry and a tutty. Dude had himself a day. Dante Thornton, Britt kind of already talked on. 3 catches, 63 yards. Most of those after the catch. Defensively, James Pierce had him another good game. I thought he caused some havoc on the line. Wesley Walker had himself a good game. Had 7 tackles with 2 assisted tackles. Norman Lott, I don't know if
Omar.
He had a sack. He had a big time sack too. That came in the clutch, I believe, in the third quarter. So that was just some guys I had written down during the game. I kind of punched some notes in my phone when I wasn't screaming at the Vanderbilt game, and those were the guys I wrote down during the game. So those are the dudes to give shout out to for Tennessee's big win. They'll need to do it again, and they'll need to all play just as good, if not better, here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And Tennessee's got a lot still in front of them. You've got UConn this upcoming week, and then you've got Missouri, Georgia, Vandy to finish off the season. And I mean, there's a scenario where the SEC East is there. There's a very obvious path to 9 wins. There's a path to 10 wins. And we're going to see which Tennessee team comes out in the next 4 weeks or 3 weeks after this week. But you figured out a couple stuff or a couple of things. Tennessee has the best running back room in the SEC. Jalen Wright is just so consistently dominant. I mean, he is averaging 6.99 yards a carry. That's number 1 in the SEC. As a team, you're averaging 221.9. That's also number 1 in the SEC. Jalen Wright is, I've said all year, he's your best player. Dylan Sampson is a star. Dylan Sampson is a game breaker. He's just a star. And you saw when Jalen Wright went out, banged up a little bit, you just saw Dylan Sampson shine. And Dylan Sampson had some key plays that helped you win the game. And it's a testament to Tennessee's running back room that I haven't. You can just talk about those guys and they're really good. But then you have Jabari Small over here who's rushed for over 2,000 career yards in the SEC. You've just got 3 really solid guys. But there were some individual performances that won you this game. I think Joe Milton helped you win this game. I think Dylan Sampson and Jalen Wright helped you win this game. I think Dante Thornton, without Dante Thornton's performance, Tennessee doesn't win Saturday. And I think Charles Campbell is the last guy who really had a big impact. But That's Josh Heupel's bread and butter. Running the football. Running the football.
Very true. That is what Hop likes to do. Tennessee takes on UConn this next week, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. Honestly, my kind of takeaways from the game, Britt, I don't know if you have any takeaways or not. My takeaways from the game is number one for me, first takeaway, is Joe Milton. I said this already, but I'll say it one more time, is the guy who I think he is. Uberly talented, can give you a super high floor, can make those crazy throws, but also you never know what you might get. So that was my first takeaway is you got a glimpse of what Joe Milton can be. And that is why I said Milton should be the starter. That's why I stayed with that train. So there's key takeaway number one. Go one? Or you just want me to go all three?
Just go all three.
Okay. Key takeaway number two is Tennessee does. This is my key takeaway. Britt already stole my thunder. Have the best running back room in the country. I thought Dylan Sampson was, at one time, I said on this podcast, he was the best running back in the room. I don't really think that he is, but he's very solid. And that O-line with Cooper Mays is pretty dang good at running the football. I mean, give them a lot of credit, too. It's not just the RBs. The O-line does their fair share of work. Key takeaway number three is I still like my original prediction of 9-3 for Tennessee. And I think I've hit this team right on the head. I haven't predicted a game wrong yet, and I'm going to try to keep it that way, but we'll see.
Yeah, and Tennessee fans, we will definitely take 9-3. It's not a season that you blew people away, but you met expectations, and that's a lot more than you have seen in the past. It's not a team that is breaking records or winning championships, but it's a solid team, a good step for your program to see hopefully 2 double-digit win seasons with a bowl game, assuming you win those. But it's a big step.
Huge step. Moving on from Tennessee, go to the Doors. Vanderbilt took on.
I hadn't even gave my keys, bro.
I'm sorry. I screw you. First of all, screw your takeaways. That's what I had to say about
10 minutes in. I haven't even said anything.
Go ahead, Britt. My bad, brother.
Well, number one is a run game. I already said it. Number two, Joe Milton can be good enough to lead a Josh Heupel team to 10 wins. I think Joe Milton at his best, which I think was the past 2 weeks, or really just the first half of the Bama game and this Kentucky game, if he can play that consistently, Tennessee would have won 10 games this year. I think he would have beat Florida. Is it good enough to beat Georgia? I don't know. Okay, third takeaway, zone defense. Tennessee's going to be stubborn defensively. They're going to rely on their pass rush and just hope that zone defense is good enough with a good pass rush to stop people. You saw Kentucky throw all over Tennessee. You really miss Kamal Hadden, but I still think the defense is better than it was last year. So the takeaway is Tennessee, I don't really know how to word it. They're stubborn. They're stubborn offensively and defensively. They know their game plan, and that's what they're going to do. So that key kind of sucks, but that's it.
Okay.
Good win. Tennessee, Kentucky don't beat Tennessee. And
people are saying
it's funny.
People are saying Kentucky does not beat Tennessee.
Yeah, it was funny.
My bad on the early transition again. I will transition now. Tennessee, good win. Moving on to Big Nashville. The Vanderbilt Commodores took on the Ole Miss Rebels this past weekend. We did fall to them 33-7. If you took that plus 26.5, you were sweating it out with me last weekend. But besides the point, there's not a whole lot to say about this game outside of Vanderbilt got dominated. And that's the only real, I think, key takeaway you can have about this game is that you got dominated. At this point in the season, you're saying the same things over and over again when you're talking about problems with your team. You're like, we're at the point in the season where it's the same problems. You're saying the same stuff every week. It gets annoying. It gets annoying when you hear your coach say it in coach pressers. It gets annoying when you get on this podcast and hear me say it. It's the same problems, right? It's nothing that I haven't said before. Biggest thing about this game, for me, is I have a question to form to the community, and I want everyone to if you were listening to this podcast right now, I want you to think about this really hard. Pause this podcast after I ask you this question and think about it. If you were making dang near $1 million and you had 80 hours, 2 weeks worth of work to prepare a game plan, and you came out and it just looked like you were Gordonsville High School's offensive coordinator, how would you feel about yourself?
I
I'm
wouldn't feel
asking.
good.
I'm asking because I know I would feel like a piece of crap, like I let everybody down, and that has to be how Joey Lynch feels about this Vanderbilt team. Dude is the laziest, worst, most trash and pathetic offensive coordinator D1 SEC the SEC football has ever seen. It is pitiful. He's a high school level coordinator. He sucks. That's all I'm going to say about Joey Lynch. That's my first takeaway. Joey Lynch is the worst coordinator the SEC's ever seen. Dude is garbage. Now, since I got that off my chest, we'll talk about the game. Once again, there's not a whole lot to talk about. There's one guy we'll talk about offensively. His name's Walter Taylor. Walter Taylor came in. He was 4 for 12 for 38 yards. Nothing crazy. He threw a pick. Walter Taylor didn't look that great throwing the football. He threw one really nice pass down the sideline, and it was a throw maybe 5 quarterbacks in the country can make. Like, it was insane. If you go back, Vanderbilt actually just posted it like 25 minutes ago. It's on Vanderbilt's Twitter if you want to go see it. It's insane. Down the sideline of Junior Cheryl, it's a dot. I think Britt's going to go look at it real quick. It's a great throw. It's insane. So, other than that, they didn't give him a lot of chances. He missed 2 or 3 pretty easy throws, or at least completable throws, where he missed pretty badly. Listen, at the end of the day, he's a redshirt freshman. And he gives you an aspect that no one else gives you, and that's his legs. He had 20 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown with a long run of 18 yards. He's got great speed. I think that's what it takes to win at Vanderbilt, and that's why I hope you roll with Walter Taylor the rest of the season. And I think that you should, but just because, no, he won't make every throw, and he may miss some easy throws, but if he can hit on a few long, explosive ones and just keep time of possession and move the ball, it's your best chance to win for Vandy. So I think you roll with Walt. Defensively, we'll talk about one guy, Langston Patterson, was graded like the second best linebacker in the country. Dude's a freak. He's everywhere. And he's such a bright spot on the defense. Him and CJ Taylor, even though Taylor didn't get to play this week, they're so much better than everyone else on the defense. It's crazy. But yeah, the change is coming. Change is coming to this Vanderbilt team. That's where I hang my hat. Coaches will be fired in the offseason. Moves will be made in the portal. Moves will be made for the high school class, hopefully, as well. So listen, it's not all doom and gloom here. It's not all sit down and I'm going to sit here and cry about it and try to actually break down the game to you. Vanderbilt got dominated. It was 33-7. There is like 3 bright spots on the whole team, and that's about it right now. Hope for the future. Hope springs eternal. And ride out with what you think Walter Taylor has or could have. Just see what he has, because you don't know. So just see what he's got the last few games.
Yeah, it is unfortunate going into week 10? Yeah, going into week 10 and Vanderbilt's making change at quarterback. I really don't think they expected Ken Seals to look as bad as he did. I really think that was a shock to Clark Lee and Mr. Lynch over there. Quinshawn Judkins is a dog. I mean, runs like his feet are on fire. He's just an animal. Ole Miss is a good team. Vanderbilt played a very good team. And if you're a Tennessee fan, you want Ole Miss to beat Georgia. And it could happen.
It is true.
It could happen. So I wouldn't look too much into it. I mean, you had a true freshman quarterback in there for what? He was there for over half the game.
Yeah.
And just a team with a lot more talent and better coaching. So
yeah,
it's a tough one.
When you look at this game, it's tough, but like I said, there's not a whole lot to say. So we'll leave it at that. I'll get into kind of more of Walter Taylor and the dudes when we get into the Auburn game. But for now, once again, Vanderbilt lost 33-7. If you did take the 26.5, though, we hit that last week, so only positive. Moving on, Tennessee takes on the powerhouse, UConn. this weekend in Knoxville. Britt, I think it's going to be pretty similar to the Ole Miss game. There's not a lot to say here from me. I mean, I have a few points, but there's not a lot to say.
No, Tennessee is going to put on the Summit Blue, and they're going to make the University of Connecticut. They're just going to punish them for the sins of Gino and their women's basketball program. They're going to absolutely baptize them. I'm going to be honest. I was looking ahead, and I've been stupidly researching Missouri all week because I forgot that we were playing UConn.
Next podcast is going to be amazing.
Next podcast is going to be great. All of them are great, but I do have some things I would like to see this week. Joe Milton seems to play a lot better coming off of he builds off of good performances. And I think Joe Milton probably feels that he played very well against Alabama. A lot of people do. And he comes out with confidence and plays well again against Kentucky. So the last thing Tennessee needs is for Joe Milton to linger in this game very long and make mistakes. So the best case scenario for Tennessee is for Joe Milton to play a quarter of really good football and then just have fun the rest of the game on the sideline. That's the best case scenario for Tennessee, is to get your young quarterback in, let him prepare for the future after Joe has built confidence. Because what we've seen against Austin Peay and Virginia and these teams that was the goal going in, you messed around with them and had to leave Joe in until late in the fourth quarter because it was a game until then. So we need to avoid that this week for sure against UConn. It's a noon game. Another thing I would like to see some of your young secondary guys play. Tennessee's got a very veteran secondary and guys that just aren't great, but just know football. Execution is not great, but they've been around. You got a lot of young guys waiting, recruits from the past 2 years. You've recruited the secondary very well. So I would like to see some of those guys go in. I'm not going to say avoid injuries as a key because that's pretty elementary. I would like to see the special teams play another good game. I've been very impressed by them. They're number one in punt defense yards, number one in punt return yards, number one in blocked kicks, all in the SEC. It's been a good unit for you. They won you the Kentucky and the Texas A&M game. So I guess I'd like to see that continue. But like Joseph said, not really much to look into for this game. Just get it over with and look to Missouri, as I'm sure they've already been doing.
I agree. I said things very similar. I said get up early, definitely. I mean, if this thing is 35-0 at halftime, get the starters out. Every starter, pull them, put in the whole entire offensive line backups, put in backup receivers. I don't want to see no starters in there in the second half. Not this late in the season, not when the East could still potentially be on the line for you and you played the number 1 seed in the East and the number 2 seed in the East. No way. No way I want them in the second half. So get up, get out of there, avoid injury. I know that is elementary or cliche, whatever you want to say, but it's part of it. You got to avoid injury and keep playing less snaps. Just helps you keep that down. So definitely there. Number 2 is I agree with Britt a lot. I always said that Joe Milton's biggest problem has always been not if he's the man, but does he believe he's the man? And Joe Milton is one of those guys who, when he does bad, he'll continue to do bad until he randomly does good, and then he'll build off of doing good until he randomly does bad. So continue to be good. That's the best point for Joe Milton. Me and Britt are lining up a lot here. And then point 3 for me would just be dominate. Literally dominate. From the first snap to the last one, dominate and be ready when the clock is done, 0-0-0, you're ready to lock into Missouri because it's going to be tough. You're going on the road. You got to be ready. So there's the keys.
Yeah. And just kind of building off that, one thing that we have failed to realize, and I personally have failed to realize, is that Joe Milton is a human. He's not going to be perfect. And earlier in the year, through the first 5 games, he wasn't helped out much by his receivers, by his tight ends. A lot of drops, a lot of routes that were not ran correctly. And you've seen the past 2 weeks, the receivers have taken a step. They have not dropped balls. They have made plays that we were not making before, and that has helped Joe Milton out tremendously, both execution wise and mentally. So continuing that, building from that, this just needs to be a building game. And Joseph made a good point about the offensive line and getting young guys in there. You saw what the offensive line looked like without Cooper Mays. Cooper Mays isn't going to be around next year, and his backup's a true freshman, Bison Lang. So if we could get that guy a few snaps this season, that would be nice, because Cooper ain't going to be around next year.
Yeah, very true. The only other thing I wanted to say is that Joe Milton also, when he was scrambling in this last game, he made a lot of really good throws on the run across his body-esque. He also directed Dante Thornton on his biggest catch. He literally told him where to go. He was pointing, telling him, this is where you need to be, and he threw it right on the money. I didn't necessarily say it, but I definitely didn't disagree. I just wanted to say we attacked Joe Milton's football IQ on this podcast at one time, and I think he's shown throughout the last 2 weeks that we may not necessarily be correct on that. So, shout out. My apologies to Joe Milton on that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I came on here joking about the crow sandwich, but I have not given him enough credit in this episode. I think he had 3 incompletions last week. 2 of those could have been called for pass interference. The last 3 road games for Tennessee, there's been 1 live ball penalty called against the other team. 1 for 10 yards. But I mean, 2 of those incompletions, 2 of his 3 were good balls that were just defended well. So I really have not said enough. And there's a lot of people that are going to. I've already got text today. Where's the podcast? And so I was like, we're recording tonight, and they're like, oh, I thought you had given up. After my takes on Joe Milton. So I'm not sitting here trying to go back on anything I said. I can be a man and say I was too harsh.
Well,
and I can even say I was wrong.
Britt,
I'll say that,
and myself getting that good apology in. Moving on, the Doors also play a football game this weekend in Nashville. The Auburn Tigers, the bottom of the barrel bowl. We'll be taking them on at 3:00, West End. Britt, got any early thoughts, brother?
Early thoughts. I have a personal connection to the Auburn Tigers, given that I have a bowl or a board bet on them to finish 4th in the West, and they're kind of right there, campaigning for that spot. But this is a game, especially. What?
I was gonna say you were so lucky. Arkansas and Mississippi State suck because Auburn sucks too.
No, they do. And going into the year, this was one that we both circled as a win or a winnable game for Vanderbilt. So are we riding with Walter? Is that what we're doing?
They have not said. I would assume it's Walter. I will get into my biggest pet peeve with the coaches in just a second, but they have managed QBs really badly. And if it's not Walter, they look even worse if he doesn't run out as a starter. So I will start there. Britt, assuming it's Walter, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
But listen, Vanderbilt, we clamored that Mike Wright was the guy last year in preseason. Well, he got named the starter early. He went to SEC Media Day. He was the starter. His first bad performance against Wake Forest, he can't even make it out the half, and they pull him and put in A.J. Swan. No, I'm sorry. In the third quarter, they pulled him and put in A.J. Swan. Third quarter, they put in Swan. Swan rides it out, gets injured. Wright comes back in. Wright leaves. Now it's the Swan show. It's all about Swan. Swan's the guy. Swan's the future. Swan has a bad game against Kentucky, and you bench him for Seals. And then Seals has a bad 4 drives, and you bench him for Walt. Do the coaches have a plan? Is my question. Do the coaches have a plan? That's all I'll say about it. If it's not Walt, they're worse than I thought. Let's just get into it. Here's why Vandy can win. Auburn has the worst passing attack in all of the SEC. Yes, worse than Vandy. They have the worst passing attack in the SEC. Okay? When you're a defense who has had such a bad secondary as Vandy, and you've had to drop 8 guys back, you've had to drop at least 7, if not 8 guys back into coverage. This will be a good game for you to dial up some stuff, get some unique looks with less help over the top, because Auburn's not explosive. They're not explosive. They're not very good at throwing the ball. This should be a game where Vanderbilt's defense can take advantage and do some stuff they haven't done yet. Play some young guys. Get the athletes on the field. Point number 2. Auburn is giving up 161 rushing yards per game. With how bad Vanderbilt's been at running the ball, they need that. They need somebody who they can get 120 rushing yards on. And with a guy like Walt at quarterback, it's going to open a lot of stuff up. They're not a great rushing defense. Walt throws an extra ability to be a runner in at quarterback. You could see some interesting things if we had a half-decent OC. You probably won't see that, but that's why I think we have a chance to win. I like certain matchups about this Vanderbilt team, basically being Walt in the box against Auburn. I like his decisions on the reads that we got to see last week. It will open up the run game. I think Vanderbilt could have success running the football. Defensively, when your secondary is the worst part of your team and they're not good at throwing the football, I think that you can get stops here and there, not all the time because our secondary is that bad. But that's kind of where I stand right now. I think Vanderbilt has a chance to win this football game, believe it or not. Keep typing.
Sorry. I'm trying to construct a parlay.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna get into my takeaways. I guess Britt has nothing to say here. Strike early, preferably fast, with Walt. That's point number 1. Get him confidence early, some little easy throws, a lot of runs with him, and just try to go down and score. Score early. Be interesting. Defense. Key number 2. Defense. Don't allow big plays. This Auburn team is not explosive. Don't make them look that way. Make them drive down the field consistently on you. They're prone to make mistakes. When they're forced to string together long drives, they make mistakes. It's what Auburn does this year. Make them do it. I don't think they can. They're not good at making the big plays. Get them behind the chains. You can stop this offense. It's not that good. And with Vanderbilt running with a running quarterback, a lot of time of possession could really do something. Number 3 is let time of possession and your bend don't break defense give you a chance to win this game late. Both is very possible. If you bend but don't break and you just score 2 touchdowns and a field goal and you got 17 points up there with a lot of time of possession, you're going to have a shot at the game. Whether you're tied, barely winning, or barely losing, you're going to have a shot. So just see if you can't get to that 17 to 24 point threshold. That's my keys. If CJ Taylor plays, I really like our chances, and if we roll with Walt, then I'll like the Doors' chances. I really will.
You like the Doors' chances? Yes.
We did make a prediction for the UT game, so really quick. Obviously, we both had huge UT wins, correct? Just so we can get that on record. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
38-3.
So if you have 38-3, I'll say something really similar. I'll say 45-7 Vols. Let's see. Britt, predictions and takeaways and keys if you have any.
I don't have any keys. I'm going to be quite honest with you. My prediction, I rolled with Vandy last week. I'm rolling with Vandy again.
This is crazy.
And it's a dog fight.
It's a dog fight.
17-16 Vandy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't expect him to do that. I really didn't. It really makes me want to change my opinion, but I'm not. I'm not changing my opinion. I'm going to keep mine. CJ Taylor plays. Walt Taylor plays. I like the Doors this weekend. I like them too much. Vanderbilt wins this game. 21-17. Doors win. I'm saying it. I wanted to predict it differently after Britt said Doors win. We may both look like fools. Walt does just enough. Special teams comes up big. Vanderbilt finally wins the turnover battle. We force 2 turnovers, commit 1. I'm just going to go ahead and call out the game right now. Vanderbilt sneaks out 21-17 and gets their 4th win of the season. No, I'm sorry, their 3rd win of the season. 3rd win of the season.
One win closer to some money for you, Joseph.
Yes, 1 win closer to some money. Yeah. That leads me to my betting. Here it is. Here's my betting. Britt, are you ready for my picks, brother?
Yes.
Very first one, I'm starting out hot. I haven't done one of these, I think, since maybe week 2. Had back-to-back good betting weekends here. Oh, also, hold on, before we get into the new ones, let's go over last week, Britt.
Okay,
I
yeah,
know
Joseph.
Go ahead, take over.
The only one you missed was Florida plus 17.5. So
Thanks,
you're
Florida.
up to whatever 20 plus 4 is.
Oh, okay. I'm 24. My bad.
You're 24, and I got 3 right. I got screwed, so I'm at 22.
I could have sworn I was at 23 last week, but that's okay.
You might have been. We can go back and check the tape, but you got 4. I got 3.
Okay, cool.
You gained a game on me.
I'm up, and here's what I'm starting. Lock of the week. If I lose this game, I will never bet him against him again. I'm right now betting against this man. I'm 0 for 6. In my career betting against this guy, I'm 0 for 6. I just want that to be said. I can't miss every one. There's no way they don't cover. Lock of the week from the locksmith. Give me the Missouri Tigers plus 17.5. Georgia is not covering 17.5. I'm saying it right now. The line opened there. Well, actually, it opened a little bit more than that. It's Missouri plus 17.5. Okay? That's the move. Okay. Lock of the week. Next game, Northwestern plus 7.5. Northwestern plus 7.5. Northwestern is coming off, arguably, their best game of the year. They beat Maryland 33-27. They take on Iowa. It's at Northwestern. It's a midday game. Iowa can't score the ball. I think plus 7.5 is a really good bet this week. Really like Northwestern here. Next one is the Washington game. Washington takes on USC. That line has floated around a pretty good bit, anywhere from like -4 to -2. Get in wherever you can. Money line, whatever you want to do. It's -2.5 right now. That's what I took it at. Washington -2.5. To be safe, if you just take money line, I think that's great. But -2.5 there. My fourth pick is Vanderbilt and Auburn under 54.5. Vanderbilt and Auburn under 54.5. Also really like that one. My 5 this week, I feel super strong about. Last time I said that, I got 2 out of 5 right. So hopefully we have different luck this time. Vanderbilt and Auburn one more time, under 54.5. My last pick was almost my lock of the week until I changed it to Missouri last second. This is as close to a lock as it gets outside of Missouri. Vanderbilt plus 14.5. We're not losing to Auburn by 2 scores. They suck. We suck. But I don't care. Our players are just as good as their players. The talent gap's not near as big. They've got a Vanderbilt DN who wasn't going to get to play starting on their defense. It's not good. If Walt plays, we can run the ball on him. Vanderbilt plus 14.5. And I haven't broke this off in a while. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Sprinkle the money line. Sprinkle it. Okay, I wanted some sprinkles because I put 20 on it. Sprinkle it, baby.
You're really showing off your mic quality there. What was your third game?
My third game was Washington money line. Okay. Or Washington -2.5, whatever.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, you ready for me?
I'm ready. Come on, Britt.
Okay, I like Ole Miss money line against Texas A&M.
Okay, Ole Miss money line.
I've got several that I can make my lock of the week, but we'll save it. I like Notre Dame -2.5 against Clemson. I got these on Monday. So these are the lines from Monday. I like Florida State -22 against Pitt. And then the next 2 are USC Washington. I like the over 76.5. It's a lot. It'll go over. USC's defense is terrible. They're god awful. My lock of the week is Washington -2.5. I think Washington wins by 2+ scores. I think
Okay.
Washington might kill USC.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. I like Washington to win. I don't know about 2 scores, but I think USC is poorly coached. I think they've gotten lazy on that staff.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I agree. Another topic in college football that we haven't spoke on, have some time here, the Michigan
Sure.
scandal.
Yes.
The Michigan sign stealing scandal. What are your thoughts, Joseph?
This is all the NCAA's fault. If the NCAA had a brain, they would just allow coordinators to communicate with quarterbacks like you literally can in the NFL. It's stupid that we're still getting signs from the sidelines and everybody's having to look over there every play. That's stupid. Makes no sense that you can even sign steal. Also, you can sign steal on tape. On film, obviously everyone watches film. You can sign still there. What's the difference from sending someone to the game to on film? I don't really know. So with that being said, I think this is all the NCAA just trying to get even with Harbaugh. I think it's pointless. They got little man syndrome. NCAA, you're dead to everyone. NIL does not care about you, and we don't care about the NCAA. I'm a Michigan defender on this one. Although they did break the rules and they should be punished with fines and money to the university. Punishing the football team itself is stupid. I think we've made enough points for that throughout the last few years. So if you think that or think Michigan should be punished, you're kind of stupid. And if you believe that Michigan gave their signs to other teams, you're just as stupid. There's no way. And if that comes out that they actually did, if it comes out confirmed they gave signs to other teams, I will publicly come on here and I'll eat my crow sandwich. But there is no way they're that stupid.
Yeah, I don't really care. I don't really have a strong opinion. I do think definitely they were sharing some stuff, but it didn't matter. I mean, if you look, I think Michigan's 1-6 in their last ball games, which are against opponents that they weren't able to scout, and they've just got their tail whooped in the playoff the last few times. So they can keep doing it. It hasn't really helped them any. That's fine. But all they care about is beating Ohio State, so I guess it does matter to them. I had to get a shot in on Michigan. Okay,
Just had to crap on Michigan real quick.
We said last week that we were going to read some reviews, so I have some reviews pulled up. I'm going to read them. Thank you to anyone who left a review. I will say we're averaging 5 stars. That's pretty good.
Appreciate
We're
that.
like Nico, 5 stars. Okay, this one is from FFJZFXGGHJJ.
Okay.
I love tuning into the podcast every week. You guys do a great job. The episodes keep getting better and better. Keep up the hard work, guys. Thank you, FFJZFGXGHJJ.
Thank you, brother.
That.
We appreciate you.
Coach Seabass says, great talent, extremely articulate, and well-informed information on all sports topics they cover. Every episode feels genuine with the constant banter, witty humor of both hosts. It is the go-to podcast for Tennessee, Vanderbilt, SEC, and college football, basketball, and NFL coverage. Not so much this season. Any listener can tune in and have a great time and be immersed with the quality of opinions from 2 extremely handsome guys. No, it says extremely class guys.
Shout out
to Coach Seabass. I don't know why you said Sebastian.
Shout out Sebastian, you're my guy. Appreciate you.
Oh dang, okay. Okay, we'll read one more. This one is from Dakota W123789. This podcast is just 2 guys talking 2 teams that you can just immediately tell they love. Don't know these guys, but sure do enjoy the podcast. So thank you, Dakota W.
Thank you, Dakota. You're a legend. What a guy. Dakota,
yeah.
I love you. Thank you, man. I don't know you. Add me on Instagram, though. I will send you a Vanderbilt jersey or something. If you're a Vanderbilt fan. You're probably not. But if you are, Dakota, I got you.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been our best season so far, viewer-wise, which is kind of strange because Tennessee hasn't been disappointing, but they haven't blown us away, and Vanderbilt hasn't done that either. So like last year, we weren't really surprised by the uptick in views, especially after the Alabama game. But this year, it is nice to see that we're building, and it just makes it not more enjoyable, but it makes it cooler.
Yes, I agree. Remember to follow us. Watch us on YouTube. If you're gonna follow us on Twitter, we want that. Our name on Twitter is @_WTL Pod. On YouTube, we are WTL Podcast. And Instagram, let me get that handle real quick too, just while I'm here. It is _Wares_the_line. So follow us on there, please. We appreciate y'all. Pretty short episode. It was a really get to the point type of episode. Like I said, at this point in the season, you're saying the same things over and over. I don't want to sit here and bore you with things you've heard me say since week 6. So thank you guys so much for listening. Vanderbilt's going to get a dub this weekend. My life's going so good right now. It has to continue Saturday. Please, Doors, win a game. The Raiders might win a game. Screw you, Josh McDaniels. Screw you, Joey Lynch. And as always, anchor down.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Dante. Go Vols. Do it for Pat Summitt. Do it for Pat Summitt. Go Vols.
Jeff Bezos, please don't.